Good afternoon and welcome to this episode of The Real Juggle. I am so excited to be in the Dancin Crepe in Atlanta in the underground section. And I am here with Yandy Smith-Harris.
Hey.
And Cynthia Adams, co-owners of this exquisite location. So how did this idea come about to start a restaurant?
Oh my gosh, I have the skincare store next door and I have been spying on this space. Someone else had this space and they were going to open up a breakfast bar. And they were in contract. And then one day I walked by and there was an eviction notice on the door. And I was like, this is my opportunity. But I know nothing about the restaurant business. So I wanted some help with someone that's been in this space and knows the business. So she's a family friend and she's been in the business of the food service and accommodation business for a very long time, over 2 decades. So I thought that she would be the best person to talk to and collaborate with.
So when you think about, your background and kind of what brought you to working with Yandy, how did this happen? Did you just kind of walk down the street and say, hey, Yandy, we should do this restaurant thing? How did this come about?
No, it's like Yandy said, I was looking into actually investing and opening up something. And so Yandy had a conversation and she said, hey, well, we should open something down here. Actually, they had a space right next door, next to Yale. And she thought that it would be great. And so we came over, we liked the space and we just got together and just made it happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now, have you always been entrepreneurial? Because your background is in food service, but you've kind of navigated to different career tracks.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Well, it wasn't always in food service. It was actually, I did some healthcare. I did a variety of different things. Yeah, but I've actually been in the in the restaurant business. Again, once I got into that, I just pretty much stayed on that line.
Right. So you officially open in 2 weeks, right? A couple weeks, right? You'll be open to the public. What is the style of the cuisine? Because I'm feeling a vibe just by your decor here. What's going to be the vibe of the spot?
So it's good. It's kind of, I would say, Caribbean / soul food / French.
It feels very Brooklyn. I'm feeling like we're Jamaica, Trinidad.
We're both from New York.
Yes.
So we brought a little bit of the New York bodega style here too with our menu. It doesn't look like a bodega by any means with the crystal chandeliers. However, if you walk into a bodega in New York, you can get a salad, you can get a beef patty, chicken patty, you can get sometimes
a gold chain.
You can get all of that as well. But we wanted to give you like a large array of foods to choose from. But we happened to find an exquisite chef. So then she's like, well, what about lamb chops? What about seafood egg rolls? What about Hennessy-based barbecue ribs? And I was like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so you have the whole vibe. So now you mentioned Yale, the skincare line. All right, for the record, how many businesses or enterprises do you have that you're juggling?
Too many. Too many.
So before I went and grabbed my complete set. So I'm going to be getting that's right. I have my complete set for Yale. And then you have this. And then obviously you're loving hip hop days.
Yeah.
You were always definitely exuding that whole entrepreneurial about my business vibe. So do you consider yourself a serial entrepreneur?
I think I just like to create. I like to create business spaces for people to engage, people to commune and convene. I love creating happy spaces for people. So when you walk into the skincare store, you feel like you've walked into the Garden of Eden. When you walk in here, usually, so we had our big grand opening and then we did a week and a half almost of just a restaurant run for the week. And any given moment, you could be pulled out your seat to dance. Cynthia and I walk around and grab people to dance on the dance floor. We normally have a DJ or a band. Our waitresses are told this is unorthodox, grab people out, dance. I think we just want to create a happy space. I think, the food could be good, the store could look nice, but the way you make people feel is what's most important. And we really want you to leave here feeling a certain type of way.
That's really good because on The Real Juggle, we talk about outlets that people need just to kind of get through your day-to-day and get through your challenges. Now, I always like to ask, because you guys are doing amazing things. You can follow you guys both on Instagram and on social media, and it's just like goals, right? The wonderful things that you guys have accomplished. But I always like to talk about your juggle. So behind the scenes, how do you hold it together? What is your juggle, Yandy?
Oh my gosh! Someone told you I hold it together. I don't hold it together. This is just a look. Every day is different. Every day the juggle is different. People ask me all the time, how do you balance it all? And I always say that is a myth. You don't balance it.
I based the show on that. I started my first episode and I said, there is no such thing as balance because balance assumes that you have everything together. Yandy, on the day that my hair is done, my kids are acting up. On the day that my kids are good and work is going well,
like, you look a mess.
I'm looking a mess, or I'm eating something I don't need to eat.
Yes.
It's a juggle, right?
It's a juggle. And honestly, even in life, it's a juggle with work. So like some days the babies get 20% of me and work gets 80%. Some days the husband gets 50%, babies get 50%. Every single day the juggle changes and the balance changes. So it's not balance. Balance means it's an equal playing field, it's equal scale. There's never that. It never will be that for anyone. I think the key has been prioritizing. I think some days I have to prioritize my children over everything else. And I can't come to the restaurant. I can't come to the store. I can't shoot. Today I have to take Skylar here. I got to do this with Amir. I got to do that. Or some other days it's, I got to go out of town and I got to speak at this engagement, or I have to do this. And my babies get a little piece of me on FaceTime. And I think for us mothers, it's important to, shun off the mommy guilt and be okay with what our balance looks like for that day, that month, that year, and dismiss those feelings of inadequacy or, I'm not being a good mother to my children, or I'm not being a good wife. I think those things just look different for different people.
And it's unrealistic. I think, normalizing, obviously, mental health awareness, but also normalizing what parenting really looks like as part of this discussion. Now, you moved to Atlanta. Tell me about, because we talked about it. It was sort of like divine for you to make this move. And it was somewhat abrupt, but you felt driven, right?
Yeah. So I really moved here to Atlanta really on faith, a hope and a prayer, and on faith, knowing that, having faith, knowing that everything will work out, in God's perfect timing, and was it a struggle? Absolutely. It was a big struggle moving here. Not having no family, right? Not having no family, no friends, no job, no nothing, just getting a U-Haul, packing up my kids and saying, let's go.
So what did you do? Because I hear stories about people who say, I started my business on $100, or, I actually got in a car and just, went out on faith. But literally, where did you live and how did you support yourself and your child?
Yeah, well, I found my house online. I've never seen the house. I found it online. I contacted the owner. He said the house was there. And
so you did sight unseen.
Sight unseen, okay. Yes. Just packed up everything and sent a security deposit in the mail and
oh my God.
And came. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, I've heard stories of you getting property and then you open the door and then that's all that's there, just the facade. There's nothing on the inside.
Well, thankfully, it was nothing on the inside because there was no furniture or anything. Right. But it was
a house.
You had a roof over it.
It was a house.
It was a house, and from that day forward, I just knew that I pretty much there was no turning back for me.
So you knew no one. You went out on faith. You had the house had a roof, and But tell everybody what happened within like 3 or 4 months, because I'm just floored.
Yeah, and 3 or 4 months. Well, actually, when I got here, the next day I went out looking for a job, and thankfully I did land a job the next day. I was actually working at JCPenney's in the shoe department, making $6 an hour.
Okay.
And so I actually stayed on that job, and just from there, I just started, thinking of other ways that I can generate income, being a single mom. And so I started doing other things like hair and daycare and, just different things just to survive.
So you were enterprising. You didn't just sit back and wait for somebody to give you something.
Oh, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I've never been that person. I was always a go-getter, always a hustler, and, always found my way, even through a struggle. And like I was expressing earlier, I have a very, very strong spiritual connection. And I think with my spiritual connection with my higher power, You know, that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me never wanting to give up, no matter how hard the struggle is, you know, and each day, you know, even again through a struggle, you know, God orders our steps. He orders my steps, you know, and that's what keeps me going.
So what do you do, Yandy? Because we all have those days where you are overbooked, you have a ton of meetings. Do you ever have the day where you're like, I cannot get out of this bed?
I do. And I do. Cynthia will call me.
She does.
I do.
But she gets up.
And I'll say, listen, today I'm getting out the bed at 2:00.
Yeah.
I need, because sometimes we go 2 weeks straight, coming in at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
But for me, I have to always make sure if I'm here or I'm next door, I got to rush home and put my kids to bed.
Yeah.
I got to be up at 6 in the morning to take them to school. After that, and the running back and forth, and sometimes I drop the kids, put them to bed, come back down. After that, sometimes I'm expensed. So I have to say, you know what? Friday, I'm going to take a morning off. I'm getting out of bed at 2. There's never really a time when I could just be in bed all day.
Right.
But I will definitely say, I need a morning.
Talk about a time in your life, Yandy, where you just felt like, okay, I've been putting the work in, but I feel like things are moving, and they were like divine ordered steps.
Yeah. I think my whole life has been that. Just like when you think about the humble beginnings that so many of us as Black women have, where we come from, what could have been.
Right.
You know, I mean, so many of us, I know I was born during the crack era, during the drug era. It definitely hit my family. But so many of us have been able to, I don't know, push through, push past. But one thing that I don't know where it comes from, probably my mother and my father, but I've always been a dreamer. I've always been a visionary. And then something with me, when I dream, I can see it. Like I'll even speak it. So even before I had this restaurant, I would say things like, I'm gonna own the block. I'm gonna own this block. When I came here, all of the spaces were empty. There was an ice cream parlor and a barbershop down there. And I was like, this side of the block is gonna be my block. I'm gonna own this block. And then because I spoke that so much, when this space became available, I was like, oh, it's just paving the way for what I already said. I'm gonna own the block. Next door to my store, there's a space that's available. And I want this to be, it's going to be a TV show that we're gonna shoot here called Amateur Night at the Underground. And I want the next door to my store to be the editing office for the TV show.
Wow.
So
you have like a whole vision.
I do. And then what happens is when I start to speak these things and believe it, it always happens. When I left, I started out in the business as an intern at Violator. And I remember, my mom was like, when are you gonna get a real job? You graduated from Howard with a degree. When are you gonna get a real job? And I'm like, Mom, this is a real job. I'm like, I'm gonna tour the world with this job. I'm gonna be Missy's manager. I'm gonna work with Busta. Now I'm an intern talking like this. And I was like, this is going, I saw what Mona, who was my boss at the time, I saw what she was doing. I saw what Chris Lighty was doing. And I said, oh, that's gonna be me. I was like, I work just as hard. I'm just as great. Not, I wasn't the top of my class. You didn't
have any doubt.
I didn't have anything that checks to say you belong here or yep, you're this, you're this. This is why. No, didn't have any of that. But I just had this will to work hard, and I knew that with that, if we had to be to work at 10, I was going to show up at 9. If my boss was there past 7, I was going to be with her till after 7.
It's your work ethic.
To show that I was the one for the job. And it always was like that. So then when, the Ladies First Verizon tour was the first tour that I did. That was Missy, Beyonce, Tamia, Alicia Keys, and there was, I think, Little Mo. And my boss couldn't do all the dates. She was like, you're gonna be the manager on duty. And Missy travels with 30-something dancers, back of the house engineer, front of the house engineer, a DJ. Like there was like 40-something people I had to manage on this tour. And once I was trusted with that tour, then I started going overseas on the road. And I just always thought I said I was gonna do this. So when I was walking in different places, they're like, I'm walking into this room, this little girl. I was probably at this point 23, 24. And they're like, hi, who are you? Oh, I'm Missy's manager. It was just something different. I work with Busta.
It came naturally.
Yeah, I was like, I had already been saying it anyway. And then the same thing, when I got on Love and Hip Hop, I first was a part of the creation, and then I was a producer. But then when crazy things happened, we felt like we needed a woman that got in this hip hop industry by her own stripes, not because she was connected to a man. And we were interviewing people, and Mona goes, I think you should do it. And I'm like, no, I'm not made for TV. I don't wear makeup. I barely do my hair. No. She's like, you can be okay. So I got on TV, and then it was like my first day or so. At first, I was like, no, just make me background. Then after I shot and I got comfortable, I was like, oh, I'm going to be the star of this show.
This is where I'm supposed to be.
I'm going to be the star of this show. And it's crazy because I never feel comfortable being on TV, but every time I try to quit, they're like, no, we need you. They offer me more money. And I'm like, I don't want to be here. I'm moving. I'm leaving New York. Well, we need you in Atlanta. So it's like every single time I try to quit, it's like, nope. And it's again because I spoke this into existence. So now I think God is like, you got to live up to it. You already said this what it's going to be. So now you got to do it. So I'm very careful about the things that I say. Very careful.
Thoughts are things. Like, I don't know if you guys have read the Celestine Prophecy. I'm like big on that. And it talks about the fact of manifestation and your thoughts, what you think, not only what you say, but what you think actually becomes your reality.
Yeah, and it's biblical. Like in the Bible, it says, believe it, pray it, and then, you'll have it.
True.
So if God says it, so it is. But the problem is people get caught up on the and then part. You hear and then, and you think it's supposed to be and then tomorrow or and then in the next hour.
Patience we were talking about, that people don't have patience.
Yeah, but God, 1,000 years is like a day. Right. So when the and then part is, he didn't say, believe, pray, you have it.
Right.
Believe, pray, and then.
Although, if you listen to this and you're struggling, it's not going to take 1,000 years to get out of your slump. We're going to get you out of that.
It doesn't have to, but there is a waiting process. It doesn't. Things don't just happen 100%. Immediately.
Yeah, and what we have to realize is that everything happens. Like I was saying earlier, everything happens in God's perfect timing. So a lot of times when we are going through different challenges in life, we want to get out of things so quickly. We want the success. We want to succeed. We want everything like right there, right then and there in the now.
Yeah.
When even like my story, which is a whole lot different, but everybody has their own story. But in my story, it was a long journey. Yeah. It was a very long journey.
So that being said, obviously there are all these wonderful things and you guys have the tools and means, right? You focus, you vision, you got ways to make sure that you manifest success in your life. But let's talk about some of those challenges. So what's the biggest challenge that you've had to deal with in your life? When you think, I'm sure we all have several, but if you had to choose, like, what was the biggest thing that almost threw you off? Ooh. But you said, you know what? I'm going to pull myself up, or you tapped into?
Yeah, I went through a horrible depression. I would say after I had Amir, when I had my son, when I was pregnant with my son, that's my firstborn, I was told at 7 months he had a kidney malfunction. So I knew that I would have to deliver him early because they had to have surgery on his kidney when he was out for 2 months. So my son had to be born, I think it was like a month early, maybe 3.5 weeks early. But then leading up to that, I would say a week almost to the day that my son had to have surgery on his kidney, this little 2-month-old baby, the feds came to my house looking for my best friend, who at the time was my boyfriend. And, they came, I had his son sleeping in the bed with me as well as our son. And when they came to my house, guns ablaze, I was so confused. Like, what are you guys here for? That's why I'm so connected to even like Breonna Taylor and, the tragedy that happened to her, because I always feel like that could have been me. I remember when they kicked down they didn't kick down the door, but they busted in my house looking for him. And, I had this image on TV, just like you said, like Yandy, the worker, she went to Howard. Right. She was an intern and she came up through the stripes on her own in entertainment. But I knew that this would hit the blogs. Right. I knew that this was going to hit the blogs.
And mar your reputation. That you
and I felt like it was going to ruin my career. I felt like it was going to ruin my reputation. But then also, the man that I'm in love with and the man who's the father of my child, I felt like we were all scarred for the rest of our lives with this. And then of course, it hit social media and exactly what I thought it was. Oh, she's fake. She's a liar. Oh, it was this. That's how she got her start. This was her career. And I just felt like I wanted to hide in a rock. And then on top of that, the next week, I had to see my baby get put to sleep to have surgery. And it was horrible. It was so much happening. And then I had to figure out how I was going to raise this baby by myself. And just thinking about, I was a new mom. He had already had a bigger son, so he was really helping me with everything. So I went through a horrible, horrible place so bad that I couldn't even create breast milk. Like my body, my mind, everything was just wrong. And I remember being so sad. You know how sometimes you get to, I don't know if either of you know, but sometimes you get to a place where you can't cut on the lights. You can't get out of bed. You can't wash. You can't brush your teeth. It's like, what for?
That's what I was asking. Like, how do you get yourself?
Yeah. I didn't get myself up. I remember my mom saying, come on, get on your knees. We're going to pray. And I was like, I don't want to pray. You know how you just be so sad and so tired. You don't even want to pray.
Yeah.
And I remember being there. My mother was like, nope, there's always tomorrow. Today you feel like this, but I'm telling you, next year, this day, you will not feel like this. I guarantee it. And she's like, you got to pray. And then, so I did that because I listened to my mother still. And then
she does.
And then there was a group of women that while the world was judging me, people were calling me names. I deleted my social media, I remember. There was a group of women like that came to my rescue, that took me out the bed, took my clothes off, washed me up. Yandy, open your mouth. Let me brush your teeth. Spit. Okay, come on. Nope, you're not getting back in the bed. We're going to walk to the door. You're going to get some fresh air. This is why, like, there's a tribe of women that I just respect so much and love so much because they really took care of me.
They're in your lowest and not
they're at my lowest. My mother, of course, as well. They're at my lowest. And I think, you know, I always talk to girls and women, like, you need a tribe of women. You need women that can understand you, that when you are butt bare and naked, they can wash you and clothe you and give you the strength that you need. So with that love and with that prayer, I was able to eventually figure out how to live in this new space. I had to figure out how to be a single mother. I had to. There was no other option. I couldn't die because I had to live for this baby. And then I had to live for the future, for this moment.
Right.
You know, and...
but you had people in your life who surrounded you who saw this when you were crying and your eyes were too blurry to see it.
I couldn't see past it. I could not see past that moment. And it was such an important revelation when my mother said, this is your today. It will not be your tomorrow. And I had to understand that and grasp that. And then, you know, later on, things occurred, things have happened. And I remember that moment. I go back, I've never been that sad or that broken, but I do remember that moment. I remember those words, this is your today, it won't be your tomorrow. So that pushes me through when I have those moments of like, ooh, this is shaking my boots. Because I know, like, this is today, it will not be my tomorrow.
And that hard time was sort of like building that muscle for you to get through the rest of the hard times. Like you said, you're not going to be without hardship in life, but how you kind of come through. What about you? What would you choose as like the one thing that was
the one thing for me?
You?
Excuse me. The one thing for me that was the hardest, and I'm going to say this without getting emotional.
No, you're not. You're going to get emotional.
I know I'm going to try not to. But the one thing for me, and that's what I absolutely love the relationship with Yandy and her mom. Because the one thing for me was losing my mom. That was the hardest.
That's three of us. You and your mom. My mom is like my bestie, my travel mate.
Yeah, my mom was like my very best friend. Yeah, so that was really the hardest. That was the hardest. But the only thing in that, because I'm going to really fast forward fast, but the only thing with her, the only thing with her past was that it threw me into work. Yeah. It threw me into work. I said I wasn't going to do this.
I knew that you would.
Yeah, but it just really threw me into working.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, you have to everybody grieves differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for me, I worked a lot.
That was her spirit helping to get you through.
Yeah, I worked a lot. I worked hard. And so just not to have to think. And so with that, like I said, it was just a lot of work, you know, just to stay busy.
So you kept moving because you felt like if you stopped, you might fall apart.
Right,
so you
just to keep from breaking. I would say, so the hardest thing was definitely losing mom. Definitely the hardest thing. But again, I turned the pain into progress. I turned it into passion about, you know, just knowing that I have to keep putting one step in front of the other.
Yes.
She would be so proud of you.
That
I
and
didn't even know you before then, and I'm like just hearing your story. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
But like you said, that's in God's perfect time.
Yeah, but everything again in God's perfect
Yeah,
timing.
that's your thing.
In perfect
So
timing.
I'm gonna do a
Yeah.
rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay, to lift us and get us. Okay, so coffee or tea?
Tea.
Tea.
Y'all doing? I love coffee.
I don't like coffee.
I don't like coffee.
I would lose my job if I didn't drink coffee. Okay,
No coffee.
Okay, I think I know the answer to this for you. I do. A lot of people or coveted crew?
A lot of people.
Really?
I know you weren't expecting that.
I was not.
A lot of people.
So are you an extrovert, like a true extrovert?
I am, for sure.
She is.
Wow.
I love being around a lot of
She
people.
is.
I love people.
Yeah.
Yeah, she is.
What about you?
Now me, I love people. I do. I really love people. I have a big heart for people, but I like to be in my own space.
I know. I'm looking at her like, you like people?
Yeah,
I do.
I
love people, but
I
But I
find
have
the
to have my
joy.
space.
I find the joy
Yeah.
in being with people.
do you like being by yourself? Like traveling alone? Or
Never.
Wow.
I absolutely love being by myself.
Yeah.
I never want to travel by myself. I don't want to go to the movies by myself.
That's interesting.
None of
that.
Okay, so the last question is, what energizes you? Is it a song? Is it a person? Is it when you're in that and you just do this one thing, what gets you up?
Definitely several songs. I am that girl. I can be anywhere at any given moment. You put on the right beat.
All right, give us a song.
You put on the
we
right
can post-production it in.
You could put on Drop It Low, 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 Drop It Low by Chris Brown. It's going to go down. I'm going to drop it low
And
for
lift your
sure.
spirits. Okay.
No matter where I am, I could be in class, I could be here at the restaurant, I could be at my store. You put on that right beat, I'm going to take a moment.
So
to
you're in a
dance.
business meeting and then all of a sudden you're like, wait.
I hear my song. and I'm
Yeah,
like,
she will.
That's my song.
She will.
The good thing about
She
me is
will.
I don't work for anybody
Yeah.
in
I
any
hear that.
capacity.
I hear
Yeah.
that.
So no matter where I am, I could do what I want to
And you
do.
could be your
Yeah,
authentic
she
I
will.
can be
self.
my authentic
That's
self.
freedom,
Yeah.
folks. I'm just
Nobody
saying.
can tell me I cannot drop it like it's hot in the middle of my meeting if I want to. Because most likely I own the business, okay?
Whoa, that's false
Right.
talk. I'm just
Yeah.
saying.
Right.
What about you? How do you
Right.
energize yourself?
Right. I think the same thing, music.
Music.
The same thing, music. Yeah, I'm not a dropper like a stop person.
I don't know. I heard something else from Mother's Day weekend. I heard something else.
Yeah,
Dropping it.
I did my little.
She had a mean two-step.
Yeah, I did. I had a really mean two-step.
She had a mean two-step.
Yeah, but I think music. Yeah, music really energizes me. Music motivates me. Music keeps me encouraged. Yeah, and so yeah, definitely music for me.
Well, I have so enjoyed talking to you guys. I got some tips.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, I thought I didn't need another friend. You reach a certain age and you're like, I don't need any more friends.
Oh, no. I've met some of my best friends,
In adulthood, right?
within the past 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely never stop making friends because you never stop growing. And a lot of my growth has come from people that I've had around me. So don't close that door. Don't close that door to growth and making new friends because people could change your life.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I don't have a lot of friends. I have very few friends, people that I would consider
to your
my
circle.
friends, right? But it's always good, like Ian said, to open the door
Yeah.
because you just never know.
You never know.
Look at she and I, became friends and, look where we at, we can help each other, on so many different levels. So
Well, I'm so happy to meet my fellow Brooklyn, New Yorkers.
Yes.
Here and have this conversation. I appreciate you guys.
Yes.
And thank you so much for joining us this week for the
Yes.
Real Juggle.
Yes.